Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Happy Ramadan to all Muslims around the world. Absolutely, it has been a long time I haven't published any videos concerning the English course, especially for our students who are going to pass the back exam so soon. That's why today I've decided to start doing this, and I've chosen an important grammatical lesson, which is conditional. So the first question here is, what is a conditional sentence? A conditional sentence is based on the word if. There are always two parts to a conditional sentence. One part begins with if to describe a possible situation, and the second part which describes the consequence. To make it simple, you have a sentence, and a sentence is divided into two main parts. The first part we call it the if clause, and the second part we call it the main clause. The example in front of you, or the example which is in front of you, shows clearly what I'm trying to explain. The example says, if it rains, we shall get wet. Please observe this. So we have if plus subject pronoun, which is it, plus the verb to rain, which is in simple present. And later, in the second sentence, we have subject pronoun we, and then we have will get, which is simple future. So we can say, if it rains, we shall get wet. Here we start by the if clause, and later we have the main clause. We can replace the positions of the sentences, and I am going to start by the main clause, and later I put if clause in the second position. I might say, we shall get wet if it rains. We shall get wet if it rains. The only change here, when we start by the main clause, we don't put a comma. We don't put a comma. When we say we shall get wet if it rains, in here there will be no comma. But if we start by if clause, we need to put a comma in order to move to the second part, or in order to make the main clause. And we can say, if it rains, comma, we shall get wet. So we can also invert the two parts of a conditional sentence so that the if part comes second, and this is especially common in questions. For example, what will you do if you miss the train? As you can see here, if comes in the middle of a sentence. What will you do if you miss the train? There is no comma. And the second sentence, how can you finish a project if you don't have a computer? And the third one, what happens if the student don't pass an exam? As we all know, there are four types of conditional sentences. But today I am going only to focus on two types of conditionals. So the four types are the zero conditional, the first conditional, the second conditional, and then the third conditional. Let's start by the zero conditional. We use the zero conditional to talk about permanent truths such as scientific facts and general habits. The structure is simple. The structure is if plus simple present plus simple present. So in if clause, we have 50% of possibility, and with the main clause, we have 100% of certainty. The examples show this clearly. So the first example is, if you heat water to 100 degrees, it boils. The second one, if you eat a lot, you put on weight. And the third example, if it doesn't rain for a long time, the earth gets very dry. The next one, if we go out with friends, we normally go to a restaurant. And the last example, if I'm tired, I go to bed early. What we observe from these 5 sentences is that we start by the if clause, and as you see, we put a comma and then we finish our sentences. First one, if you heat water to 100 degrees, there is a comma and then we say it boils. The second one, if you eat a lot, comma, you put on weight. The third one, if it doesn't rain for a long time, comma, the air gets very dry. The next example, if we go out with friends, comma, we normally go to a restaurant. And the last example is, if I'm tired, comma, I go to bed early. So this is 0 conditional. Let's go to the first conditional. The first conditional. We use the first conditional to talk about a realistic situation in the present or future. The structure of the first conditional is as follows. If plus simple present, with the if clause of course, and then we have will plus a verb, can plus a verb, must plus a verb, or the imperative for. So the percentage of possibility with the if clause is 50%, and the percentage of the main clause is 100% of certainty. We have some examples here. The first example says, if you're free later, we can go for a walk. Can here represents, maybe we can say ability, okay? If you're free later, we can go for a walk, ability. If they are hungry, I will make some sandwiches. You see, if they are hungry, of course there is a comma, and we say I'll make some sandwiches. The next sentence, if you're not back by 5 p.m., give me a ring, please. Give me a ring. If he studies hard, he'll do well in the exam. If we arrive late, we must get a taxi. He will call if he needs help. Take a break if you're tired. Take a break if you're tired. This is the imperative for. Another way to make the first conditional sentences is to use unless, which means only if or except. As with if, the word unless can never be followed by will, but only by the present simple. For example, unless you hurry up, you won't catch the bus. I'll carry on doing this work unless my boss tells me to do something else. And the last sentence, we shall stay at home unless the weather improves. So, as I told you, today I just would like to talk about 2 types of sentences, of conditional sentence, type 0 and type 1. Next time, I'm going to finish talking about the rest of types of conditional sentences. Thank you so much and have a good night. Thank you.